Yo, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Swindler's Minute. I'm here as the Swindler, although you can call me Castaspella. Today we're going to talk about Dengar. Dengar is a slow farm from the guild store, so while many of us have had him up at 7 for a year or so, he can take several months to farm from scratch, even if you buy him every time he pops up in the shop. Long story short, if you don't have him finished already, you'll want to get cracking. While I usually mention how easy scoundrels are to farm, and most of them are, Dengar is actually among the hardest in the scoundrel faction, so don't be too hard on yourself if you have to work on him for a while. Now, to understand Dengar's potential, we first have to set up a general scenario. First, and most importantly, we're in a bounty hunter team behind a Boba Fett lead. Now, this gives us bonus 50% crit damage and a modest 10% crit chance. We're also going to realize that foresight, fueled evasion, is so common in today's meta, with General Kenobi and R2-D2 being especially common. Dengar's basic can reliably be used to target debuff characters, since Dengar and the other bounty hunters do throw a lot of debuffs. So 60% of the time it's going to be a guaranteed critical hit on that assist. Now the base damage on the basic isn't very special, but do factor in the 60% chance to call assists, and assuming those crits behind the Boba Fett lead, his basic's going to be averaging around 14k damage before mods, which is pretty decent, and pairs nicely, especially nicely, with other high damage basic attacks like Greedos on that assist. Now I mentioned foresight when we were setting up the scenario, and Dengar is well equipped to handle these frequent threats. Now not only does he get that flat 60% turn meter to compensate from taking that turn to clear off the foresight, but with that possible assist, he can still punch through and get some damage done. It's especially satisfying to call in Zam to blow up a bomb, who will then go again and give everybody 15% turn meter. His Blast and Smash special can deal serious damage, in addition to taking an enemy out of the fight for roughly a turn or more by combining stun with a powerful speed down. Now notably, this speed down can last for 3 turns, which is quite useful if you can bait out your opponent's cleanses and stick them with a character that's at 70% speed for the duration of the debuff. His Mini Mind Mayhem special is probably his most interesting move, at least it is in my opinion, which is saying something for a character with a kit as complex as Dengar. The first thing I'll mention that it does pretty weak damage, even for an AoE, but by combining the turn meter gain on evade, it's not uncommon for Dengar to take another turn immediately while stacking a couple situationally useful debuffs, and oftentimes a strong 50% turn meter reduction to every target that Dengar crits, which in many cases is going to be everybody who didn't evade. Keep in mind that behind a Boba Fett lead, all of those bounty hunters are going to get that 15 speed bonus for each debuffed enemy, so those AoE debuffs like Mini Mind Mayhem also offer some potent secondary benefits. While we did touch on the turn meter gained from his unique, there are 2 other benefits that I'll mention here quickly that are situationally useful. Waiting for stealth before using Mini Mind Mayhem can help when playing against counterattacks, and that tenacity up is especially useful for a bounty hunter character, since there aren't really any ways to actively cleanse without partially breaking up the synergy. Now, looking over at his stats, his speed is sadly very low. Although it does happen to mean that Dengar is going to be more likely to take a critical hit and then stealth before his turn so that he can use Mini Mind Mayhem as an opening move without suffering counterattacks. His potency is on the high side, which is awesome for a bounty hunter, since just this 51% is going to give all bounty hunters an additional 2,550 health, that is behind the Boba Fett lead again, and assuming the whole team has an average of 80% potency, Dengar is going to hit 50,000 health before the contribution of mods. Now, since there isn't really much else to say about his otherwise pretty average stats, let's touch on some feasible modding options. Now, Dengar will want to use either all potency mod sets or go full damage with a crit chance and a crit damage set. For the primary bonuses, you'll want that protection circle, in addition to a speed arrow, of course, a crit damage triangle, and a potency cross. Now, I personally prefer using the potency sets on almost all of my bounty hunters, since I use them as a team. But while gearing up bounty hunters, especially if you're playing with them in mixed teams, the crit damage and crit chance sets also make a lot of sense, so that Dengar can start making large contributions to damage much earlier. Dengar can be used in credit heists, raids, dark side nodes, cantina, and even in Galactic War. The footage we have going here is the 5 pip crit mod challenge. As you can easily see that I overpower the challenge, it'd be great to see a higher tier and a more difficult challenge someday. Now in conclusion, while Dengar is a solid character in a bounty hunter team, few players have strong enough bounty hunter teams to use them outside of an early galactic war battle or the way too easy credit heist or other low difficulty PvE content. And although Dengar has a relatively strong kit and decent base stats, he doesn't really shine outside of a bounty hunter team, due in large part to his low speed. I am hopeful that there will be some near-term use for the bounty hunter team, perhaps within a Darkside territory battle or even a legendary event someday. Jingo! And while Dengar has a varied kit, his abilities don't really shine unless they're used in parallel with a bounty hunter team, so plan on using him with your Boba Fett in the foreseeable future. As a final glimmer of hope, Dengar's unique, grizzled veteran does only go to 7, so it could get a Zeta at some point. And based on the high complexity to his kit, it may very well have some interesting interactions. So to sign off, may all your Zeta days yield 4, and answer questions only if necessary. This has been the Swindler.